Hundreds packed the Hilo High School cafeteria on Friday night in hopes of weighing in on a federal study of Hawaii's energy future. The scoping meeting was one of many held across the islands and is the first step in the U.S. Department of Energy's drafting of a programmatic environmental impact statement for the Hawaii Clean Energy Initiative. It was a chance for these folks to let the feds know how they feel about the current plans to develop Hawaii's sustainable energy resources.
Every island should provide its own energy.
I ask that included in this PEIS, the Department of Energy provide our state decision makers with data comparing utility scale energy production to smaller community-based systems.
Passions were deep.
Why is geothermal up there with clean energy? I live in Lower Puna. It is not clean. It is not safe. There are people sick.
On numerous occasions, meeting facilitators had to remind the public about the purpose of this process.
This PEIS process is not selecting future projects for the state of Hawaii or for the PUC. So this is providing environmental guidance.
This process is not looking at any specific project proposal. We are not analyzing any specific site or location. This PEIS does not in any way eliminate the need for environmental review by every specific project that might later be proposed.
In 2008, the Department of Energy and the state of Hawaii established a partnership to transform the way in which energy efficiency and renewable energy resources are used in the state, which led to the establishment of the Hawaii Clean Energy Initiative. The goal, to meet 70% of Hawaii's energy needs by 2030 through energy efficiency and renewable energy.
The Department of Energy, for some years now, has invested a great deal of money in activities to support energy in the state of Hawaii.
But with so many possible resources to harness, geothermal, solar, wind, ocean, what is the best path to take? The federal study hopes to develop the guidance that can be used in making those decisions. The study will look at energy efficiency, distributed renewables, utility-scale renewables, alternative transportation fuels and modes, and electrical transmission and distribution.
The potential of connecting islands, and that would involve both undersea corridors and the sea-land transition sites. But let me emphasize, this is the potential. There is no specific proposal here.
The EIS process actually began in December 2010, but back then it was focused on only the wind phase of the Hawaii Inter-Island Renewable Energy Program.
But the two key issues that came forward were, why just wind? There are a lot of other clean energy options. You need to look at all of them. And why just 4 islands? Look at the whole state.
And so here we are today, a much wider scope for the environmental study, and a chance for residents in Puna who oppose geothermal development along Hawaii Island's East Rift zone to voice their opinion.
Places have been closed down in Germany and Switzerland and California, and here we are in a lava zone 1. I want to know why it's up there. I want to know why it's on the website. Yes, that's my big burning question.
In the hopes that the final document would detail the cons of Hawaii's geothermal industry, opponents detailed the issues they have with Puna geothermal venture, currently tapping the island for 38 megawatts just outside Pahoa.
I request that the DOE study the steps the state has taken to bypass environmental laws and local and cultural needs. With the passage of Hawaii Act 97 this year, the counties have been stripped of their land use control over geothermal development. We are concerned about toxic and radioactive nature of geothermal brine and the health effects of low-level and high-level exposures. The geothermal brine contains, among other things, hydrogen sulfide, lead, nickel, chromium, radon, and mercury.
There has never been a complete study of the effects of H2S exposure in Puna near the geothermal plant. The EPA has now stated that low-level exposure to H2S warrants H2S to be listed in EPCRA 313 as a dangerous toxin. The monitoring of toxin gas releases into the community is shoddy and should be looked into. There is no warning system and very little follow-up of complaints of rotten egg smell in the community. PG&E has admitted that on an average 40 gallons of pentane is unaccounted for daily. Average. Is that exactly? What about spikes? What if huge amounts of pentane should blow up in an earthquake? The nearest resident is 2,000 feet away from PG&E. Lots of time to get them out.
How much pentane do you think Puna can absorb, and still you want to call this clean? Where is all this stuff going? Or do you not want to think about that?
In order to produce 30 megawatts of energy, PG&E reinjects 3 gallons of a minute, 180,000 gallons an hour, 4,320,000 gallons a day of brine to produce 30 megawatts. The project is calling for 1,000 megawatts of electricity generation, 30 times the amount of PG production. Simple math, 142,560,000 gallons a day are going to be re-injected into Puna.
One person even dressed up as the Grim Reaper to symbolize the general disgust.
This cable.
But it was also the transmission of power produced on the Big Island to Oahu that had the public in an uproar.
Environmental ramifications, not to mention what it can do to our reefs.
All I've heard from this under cable possibility is that it's going to be between 10 and 20 billion just for the cable alone. And it makes no sense to me that why are we even considering that in a clean energy?
It wasn't just geothermal getting the heat at the meeting. Testifier Elaine Munro spoke out about concerns she has with bioenergy facilities such as Huhonua, which will soon be operating in Pepekeo.
Here in Hawaii, there is a salt disposition that goes on the trees. And because of that salt and combustion, there's a much higher likelihood of dioxins and furans to be up the smokestack. The state of Massachusetts recently did a science-based legislation that said that any biomass plant in Massachusetts must attain a 50% efficiency rate. The efficiency rates here in Hawaii are 23%. Why is that important? Why burn more wood to achieve far less efficiency? Make our resources go farther. Require that these plants become more efficient. That's good for everybody, and it's really good for having the resources last longer.
The Big Island isn't the only county with issues. A few residents even flew over from Lanai in order to testify against a proposed wind project on their island.
And as I'm speaking, and later tonight, I ask you please to take a look at the vinyl banner that's hanging back there on the windows. That's a representation of what is planned for Lanai for a wind turbine farm. I believe that the Department of Energy should focus its expertise on helping make each island in Hawaii energy self-sufficient.
Another testifier, Henry Curtis, the executive director of Life of the Land, a nonprofit environmental and community action group.
I want to address two issues.
When he talks on the subject of energy, people listen.
The energy agreement calls for 1, streamlining regulation, 2, automatic approval, 3, minimizing public input, 4, presumption that the utility knows best, and 5, termination of the net metering program. I don't know of anybody outside of the utility that thinks it's a good idea. That's why they wrote it. And that's why it mentions HECO and its companies 400 times and KIUC once. Because it's a HECO-centric document.
One resident questioned, does it all even matter?
The fact is, because it is a planning and feasibility study, it doesn't stop anything else from happening. It's informational.
You just said this has no teeth. The only thing maybe this process might be great for is when we sue the state and sue everybody that's involved. With your recommendations, when they come through, then we'll have to use those in litigation, because if you have no teeth, this community is going to find the teeth. Thank you.
Thank you. The Department of Energy plans to issue the draft programmatic EIS in 2013. That will begin a 45-day public comment period. Then there will be more public hearings. Officials plan to publish the final programmatic EIS in 2014.